Ford actually built a car powered by a nuclear reactor, a machine that promised endless driving on one tiny uranium core, zero gas, zero emissions, but one crash away from turning into a radioactive nightmare. Hidden in secret vaults for decades, insane prototypes dreamed up by brilliant engineers who risked everything only for terrified executives to bury them forever. Betrayals that crushed dreams, million-dollar secrets locked away, and the most ferocious Mustangs ever conceived, deliberately destroyed before they could dominate the streets or crush Ferrari. This is the dark, heart-pounding truth behind Ford's wildest cars, the geniuses who saw the future, the corporate fear that killed it, and the final bombshell decision that forever changed racing history. If muscle cars, drag racing scandals, and automotive conspiracies get your adrenaline rushing, you cannot stop watching now. The shocking twist at the end? It will blow your mind and make you question everything you knew about Ford. Smash that like button if you're already hooked. Comment right now, nuclear Ford or banned Mustang, which blows your mind more? And subscribe plus hit the bell so these jaw-dropping untold stories hit your feed first. Buckle up, the madness starts right now. Welcome to Regal Rides, where we uncover the raw, untold stories behind the wildest machines in automotive history. If you're hooked on muscle car legends, drag racing drama, and hidden engineering secrets, smash that like button right now, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another explosive reveal. Henry Ford, the original mad genius. Picture this. It's the depths of the Great Depression in the 1930s. America is struggling, factories are quiet, families are scraping by, yet in Dearborn, Michigan, one man refuses to quit dreaming big. That man is Henry Ford, already in his 70s, the same visionary who revolutionized the world with the Model T and the moving assembly line. Most people his age would be rocking on a porch, but Henry? He was still in the lab, sleeves rolled up, sketching ideas that made his own engineers do double takes. While the world played it safe with conventional front-engine, rear-drive cars, Henry was quietly filing patents for something radically different, rear-engine automobiles that flipped everything upside down. Henry Ford didn't just oversee these experiments, many patents bear his own name. He had already racked up 161 U.S. patents in his lifetime, from early engine tweaks to tractor designs. But starting in 1934, the filings exploded with rear-engine concepts, each more unconventional than the last. These weren't wild fantasies scribbled on napkins. They were detailed blueprints, backed by prototypes built and tested in Ford's secret shops. Henry relied on trusted engineers like Joe Gallum, Larry Sheldrick, and Gene Farkas for the technical heavy lifting, but he personally supervised the ones that fired his imagination. One of the most mind-bending? U.S. Patent 2,051,474, filed in 1934 and granted in 1936. This layout is arguably the rarest in automotive history. A rear-engine car driving the front wheels. Yes, engine mounted longitudinally in the mid-rear position, power routed forward through a long torque tube to a Ford-style front axle. The patent drawings show a V8 sitting way back, drivetrain perched atop the rear axle for better balance, and, get this, limited four-wheel steering. The front wheels handled the main 60% of steering, while the rears added 40% articulation for tighter turns and stability. Henry's reasoning? Shift the center of gravity rearward to free up massive passenger space up front, shorten the overall length, and create a smoother, more efficient ride without the long hood-eating cabin room. Imagine cruising in one. No engine heat blasting your legs, huge interior, and traction pulling from the front where weight sits during acceleration. But Henry went even crazier. Another patent from May 1935, US 2,065,065, granted December 1936, featured an L-head flathead V8 mounted transversely, sideways, right behind the rear axle centerline. The crankshaft drove a planetary transmission bolted directly to the axle via massive herringbone gears for quiet, efficient power transfer. Suspension? Transverse leaf springs, swing axles, and trailing arms, classic Ford toughness but in a radical package. The goal here was extreme, move the center of gravity deep into the passenger area to kill pitch oscillation, that annoying nosedive under braking or squat on launch. Henry believed this would deliver a limo-like smooth ride in a compact body, plus better traction and reduced vibration. The patent explicitly claims it cuts driveline intrusion into the cabin and makes the car shorter overall, ideas that feel modern even now. These weren't just paper dreams. Ford built and road-tested prototypes of these layouts. Engineers tinkered with swing axles, torque tubes, and even barrel-shaped radiators to save on copper during material shortages. Some tests showed promising weight distribution, around 40/60ths front/rear in spots, but issues piled up: complex driveline alignment, potential overheating in the rear, manufacturing nightmares, and the sheer cost in a Depression-era market where buyers wanted cheap and reliable, not revolutionary. Henry pushed boundaries when the industry clung to safe, proven designs, much like the NHRA drag racers we admire who bent rules with homemade small blocks to beat factory teams. The emotional punch? These experiments came from a man in his twilight years, still burning with the same fire that built an empire. Henry saw cars not just as transportation, but as tools for freedom and efficiency. If he'd pushed harder, or if the timing was different, we might have had front-drive, rear-engine Fords dominating before Volkswagen's Beetle or Chevy's Corvair even hit the scene. Instead, these patents gathered dust in archives, the prototypes scrapped or hidden away. But the ideas didn't vanish. They quietly influenced future thinking on packaging, weight balance, and bold engineering. This fearless tinkerer spirit, refusing to accept that's how it's always been done, set the stage for everything that followed at Ford. Henry's wild patents were the spark, and the flames were about to get nuclear. Stick around, because what came next makes these 1930s experiments look almost tame. The atomic dreams, forbidden Mustangs, and corporate betrayals are just getting started. Lee Iacocca, the risk-taker behind the controversies. Fast forward from Henry's quiet 1930s tinkering to the explosive 1960s, a time when America was young, bold, and hungry for speed. At Ford's Dearborn headquarters, a new kind of genius emerged: Lee Iacocca, the cigar-chomping, straight-talking son of Italian immigrants who rose from engineering trainee to Ford president in record time. Born in 1924 in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Iacocca started at Ford in 1946 as an engineer fresh out of Lehigh University. But he quickly realized his true talent wasn't in blueprints, it was in selling dreams. His legendary 56 for 56 campaign in Philadelphia, $56 monthly payments on 56 models, went national and rocketed him to the top. By November 1960, he was vice president and general manager of the Ford division at just 36 years old. Iacocca wasn't just climbing the ladder, he was rewriting the rules of what made a car company tick. His biggest triumph? The Ford Mustang. In the early 1960s, baby boomers were coming of age, imports like the VW Beetle were stealing youth sales, and Ford needed something fresh. Iacocca saw the gap. A sporty, affordable car that felt like freedom on wheels. He didn't design it himself, that credit goes to the styling team under Eugene Bourdonnais, but he masterminded the whole thing. He pushed for a Falcon-based platform to keep costs low, demanded a base price under $2,500, about $25,000 today, and insisted on endless customization options: hardtops, convertibles, fastbacks, V8 power, pony emblems. The result launched on April 17, 1964, at the New York World's Fair. Over 22,000 orders flooded in on day one. By the end of the first year, 418,812 Mustangs sold, shattering records and landing Iacocca on Time and Newsweek covers. He turned Ford into the cool brand again, proving his mantra: excitement sells. This was pure muscle car energy, raw, accessible power that echoed the NHRA drag strips where backyard builders were already pushing limits. Iacocca's vision made the Mustang a cultural icon, inspiring generations of performance cars. But genius like his often danced on the edge of danger. By 1970, Iacocca was Ford president, reporting directly to Henry Ford II. The oil crisis loomed, imports were flooding in, and Ford needed a cheap subcompact to fight back. Iacocca set aggressive targets: under $2,000 sticker price and under 2,000 pounds curb weight. The Pinto was born, rushed into production in just 25 months, normal was 43. Engineers called it Lee's car. It was nimble, economical, perfect for the era, but fatally flawed. Pre-production crash tests revealed the horror. The rear-mounted fuel tank sat right behind the axle, with protruding bolts that could puncture it in rear-end collisions over 25 miles per hour. The filler neck often ripped out, spraying gas everywhere. Fires erupted in seconds. Internal tests showed ruptures repeatedly. Engineers proposed fixes: a $11 plastic shield, rerouted filler tube, cheap and effective. But an infamous 1973 internal memo, fatalities associated with crash-induced fuel leakage and fires, ran the numbers. Fixing all affected vehicles would cost $137 million, $11 per car across millions. Estimated societal benefits from preventing deaths and injuries? Only $49.5 million, using NHTSA's own figure of $200,725 per life lost. The cold math said, lawsuits cheaper than safety upgrades. Ford pushed ahead, prioritizing speed to market and cost over lives. Tragedy struck. Rear-end crashes turned Pintos into fireballs. Official NHTSA account, at least 27 deaths from fuel-fed fires, though some estimates ran higher. Hundreds of injuries, burn victims with lifelong scars. Lawsuits exploded, over 100 cases, including the infamous Grimshaw trial where a jury hit Ford with $125 million in punitive damages, later reduced. Media dubbed it Pinto Madness. NHTSA investigated in 1977, declared the design defective in 1978, and Ford, under pressure, recalled 1.5 million Pintos and 30,000 Mercury Bobcats in June 1978. Fixes included shields, longer filler tubes, better seals. But the damage was done. Headlines screamed corporate greed, families mourned, and Ford's reputation burned. Iacocca took the heat. In his 1984 autobiography, he accepted responsibility but denied knowingly building a death trap, insisting no one wants unsafe cars for their families. Critics pointed to his "safety doesn't sell" attitude and rush orders. Was he a ruthless villain or a product of cutthroat corporate pressure? Iacocca was a bold risk-taker who bet everything on speed and low costs, much like NHRA racers who push engines to the red line for glory, knowing one mistake could end it all. The Mustang showed his brilliance. The Pinto exposed the dark cost of corners cut too sharply. The backlash nearly ended his Ford run. Henry Ford II fired him in 1978 amid the scandal and internal clashes. But Iacocca's fire never dimmed. He landed at Chrysler and pulled off one of history's greatest turnarounds. At Ford, though, his legacy is double-edged, triumph and tragedy intertwined. That high-stakes drama set the tone for what followed, unreleased legends and atomic dreams born from the same fearless, sometimes reckless, pursuit of the future. Hold on tight, because Eugene Bourdonnet's forbidden designs are next, and they make the Pinto controversy feel like just the beginning. Eugene Bourdonnet, the design visionary of unreleased legends. Now step into the creative furnace of Ford's design studios in the 1960s and 1970s, a place where bold ideas clashed with boardroom caution, and one man stood at the center, Eugene Bourdonnet, the outspoken vice president of styling and chief designer who left his mark on over 50 million cars across 5 Ford presidents. Born in 1920 outside Detroit with deep automotive roots, his father was a plant engineer at Willis Overland. Bourdonnet started at GM but jumped to Ford in 1947 seeking bigger opportunities and faster advancement. By 1961, he was VP of Styling, a position he held for decades, guiding everything from the Lincoln Continental to the Pinto. But Bourdonnet wasn't a yes man. He was fiery, emotional, and obsessed with cars that stirred the soul. He famously argued designs needed 60% emotion and 40% logic, the reverse of what cautious executives often wanted. He corrected the record on the original Mustang, insisting Lee Iacocca wasn't the sole father, since the design was 7 months along before Iacocca saw it. Bourdonnet believed in pushing boundaries, even if it meant secret after-hours projects in basement studios. His most tantalizing masterpiece? The 1967 Ford Mustang Mach 2 concept, a mid-engine, 2-seat sports car born as a secret rebellion to reimagine the Mustang as a true Shelby Cobra successor or baby GT40. Bourdonnet led the charge through Ford's Special Vehicles Group and Advanced Concepts Department. Initial sketches came from his hand, then the team built prototypes at Carcraft, Ford's skunk works for special projects. They started with a shortened 1966 to 1967 Mustang convertible floor pan, chosen for its reinforcements, strengthened with a tubular subframe up front. The engine? A potent 289 cubic inch, 4.7L, V8 mounted midship, right behind the seats and ahead of the rear wheels for razor-sharp balance and low center of gravity. Power flowed through a 5-speed manual, later prototypes got refinements, with independent rear suspension in advanced versions, front Mustang suspension, steering and brakes for cost-effective parts sharing. The body was pure drama, fiberglass construction, low slung at just 47 inches tall, aggressive lines with raised carb intakes on the rear deck, side exit exhausts, a chopped-off tail, and GT-inspired cues. Only about 2,644 pounds, light and nimble. 2 full runners emerged, a white engineering mule for testing and a striking red production candidate with adjustable Coney shocks and polished details. It debuted at the 1967 Chicago Auto Show, turning heads and sparking debates. Journalists raved about its exotic potential, while some fans worried a mid-engine Mustang strayed too far from pony car roots. Road tests showed promise but issues like understeer, hinting at more tuning needed. Bourdonnet's team dreamed big. This could have been a street-legal exotic blending Mustang accessibility with European flair, challenging Corvette and Ferrari on price and performance. Yet Ford executives balked. Too expensive for mass production, too niche in a market-loving front-engine muscle, and risky after recent controversies. The Mach 2 never escaped the show circuit. Prototypes vanished into storage or were scrapped. One early mock-up sat forgotten until Ford archives rediscovered and identified it in 2020. Its DNA, though? It quietly influenced later exotics like the De Tomaso Pantera. Bourdonnet personally drove and modified a Mangusta variant as his own car, studying it for bumper laws and design cues. Bourdonnet's wild streak ran deeper. He pushed concepts like the 1963 Bourdonnet Cobra, also called XB Bourdonnet Cobra or XD Cobra, a mid-engine open-top update to the Shelby Cobra, shown at the Detroit Auto Show and New York World's Fair. He even used one as his personal driver for over a year. Other unreleased gems include early Mustang II studies, a front-engine roadster previewing production Mustang styling, and oddities like the 1976 Corrida or similar Ghia Corrida/flashback prototypes. Compact two-seaters with Italian flair, special appeal to sports and classic buffs, but never greenlit. Bourdonnet clashed often with logic-driven execs like Robert McNamara, yet his emotional designs won battles. The original Mustang's success owed much to his studio's intramural competitions. He shepherded transitional eras, blending dream car flair, like earlier Gyron or X100Qs, into production reality. His unreleased legends echo NHRA garage heroes, pure passion against cold corporate math. Bourdonnet saw performance futures others feared, mid-engine agility, exotic lines, driver-focused thrills, but Ford wasn't always ready. The heartbreak of these buried dreams fuels the fire for what's next. Ford's plunge into truly insane territory with nuclear power and forgotten oddities. Don't blink. The atomic madness is about to ignite, and it builds on the same daring vision Bourdonnet championed. The nuclear era and beyond, wildest experiments. The late 1950s weren't just about chrome fins and rock and roll, they were the peak of the atomic age, when nuclear power symbolized unlimited progress, clean energy, and a future free from oil dependency. Submarines and aircraft carriers ran on compact reactors, electricity from nuclear plants lit cities, and optimism ran wild. Ford's advanced styling studio caught the fever hard. In 1957 to 1958, under lead designer James R. Powers and with futuristic input from visionaries like Alex Tremulous, the man behind earlier dream cars like the Lincoln Futura, they unveiled the Ford Nucleon, a concept so audacious it still stuns today. A family sedan powered entirely by a miniature nuclear reactor. This wasn't some vague sketch. Ford built a stunning 3/8 scale model, about 5.5 feet long when scaled, and toured it at auto shows to hype the vision. The full-size Dream measured roughly 16.7 feet long, 6.5 feet wide, with a low 3.5-foot roof height and a short 5.8-foot wheelbase, compact yet futuristic, with a bubble canopy for panoramic views, sleek tail fins, and twin booms framing the rear-mounted reactor pod that looked like a glowing spare tire from another planet. No bulky engine up front, no gas tank, just a small uranium-fueled fission reactor heating water into high-pressure steam, which spun turbines to drive electric motors at the wheels, steam-driven powertrain, similar to nuclear subs of the era. The bold promise? Revolutionary range, 5,000 to 8,000 miles, some Ford claims push 10,000, on a single power capsule, a replaceable uranium core swapped at future, nuclear service stations, like changing oil today. Drivers could choose options, conservative cores for fuel efficiency and longer life, or high-performance ones for more horsepower. Ford press releases called it an advanced notion of the automotive future and a futuristic fancy, assuming reactors would shrink dramatically in the coming decade, making gasoline obsolete. Imagine the freedom, no more weekly pump stops, no emissions choking cities, pure atomic drive cruising endlessly. It captured headlines worldwide, symbolizing America's post-war confidence in science conquering every limit. But the dream shattered against brutal physics. Miniaturizing a safe, practical reactor for a car? Near impossible then, and still today. The core could fit, but radiation shielding was the killer. Gamma rays demand dense materials like lead or tungsten. Neutrons need thick water, concrete, or borate polyethylene. A reactor producing just 100 to 200 horsepower would require shielding weighing 40 to 50 tons, turning the nucleon into a rolling fortress too heavy for roads, too expensive to build, and lethally dangerous in crashes. A fender bender could rupture containment, releasing fallout in populated areas. Heat rejection was another nightmare. Fission generates massive thermal energy, needing huge radiators or cooling systems that would dwarf the car itself. Ford quietly abandoned the project after the model tour, shelved amid Cold War radiation fears, engineering dead ends, and the realization that lightweight shielding breakthroughs weren't coming anytime soon. Ford's boundary smashing didn't end with atoms. Echoing Henry Ford's radical 1930s experiments, the company explored other forgotten oddities, like the fifth-wheel parking system, an ingenious invention tested in Detroit circles during the 1930s to 1950s. California inventor and lumberman Brooks Walker patented it in 1938, filed 1932, U.S. Patent 2,139,341, as a vehicle lifting and traversing device. The spare tire dropped hydraulically from the trunk or rear mount, extended to the ground, and lifted the rear wheels off the pavement. A dashboard switch activated gears and pumps, letting the car pivot sideways, spin in tight circles, or glide into parallel spots effortlessly, even big luxury sedans in cramped city streets. Walker demonstrated prototypes on Packard's 1933 newsreels show a four-door swiveling like magic, Cadillacs, and later a 1953 Packard Cavalier with an extended Continental kit for external mounting. It used hydraulic lines, gears, and simple controls. Flip a switch, park like a pro. Cost? About $175 in the 1950s, over $1,600 today. Life magazine featured it in 1952, noting Walker pitching to Detroit. Ford and others explored similar ideas in their labs, tying into Henry's obsession with better handling and packaging. But rejection came swift. Too expensive, devoured trunk space, added complexity when power steering was emerging as a simpler fix. Detroit said no repeatedly, and the concept faded, though modern automatic parking aids echo its spirit. These wild experiments throb with the same raw, defiant energy as NHRA drag racers defying physics for glory, engineers spotting impossible barriers and charging head-on. The nucleon chased infinite freedom. The fifth wheel promised effortless mastery over tight spaces. Both crashed hard against cost, safety, practicality, and fear, buried in archives or scrapped. Yet their daring refused to die completely. That unquenchable courage still simmers beneath Ford's surface, quietly shaping today's boldest rides. The final chapter connects the dots, how these hidden geniuses and their buried dreams secretly influence the Mustangs, performance legends, and future tech we chase now. Stay with us. The legacy reveal is about to hit with full force. We've journeyed through the minds that dared to dream bigger than Ford itself, Henry Ford's radical rear-engine patents that rewrote the rules of layout and space, Lee Iacocca's high-stakes gamble that birthed the Mustang legend while nearly burning everything down with the Pinto, Eugene Bourdonnet's forbidden mid-engine masterpieces that could have redefined American exotics, and the atomic fever that produced the nucleon, a glowing promise of endless freedom wrapped in radioactive danger. These weren't isolated experiments. They were threads in a single tapestry, Ford's relentless pursuit of innovation, even when it scared the boardroom. The geniuses behind them shared one unbreakable trait. They saw limits as invitations, not walls. Henry tinkered in his 70s like a garage racer. Iacocca bet the company's future on excitement. Bourdonnet sketched emotions into steel. The nuclear team imagined a post-gas world. Corporate fear, cost sheets, and safety nightmares buried most of their work, but not the spirit. Look around today. That spirit lives loud and clear. The current Mustang GTD? It's the spiritual grandchild of Bourdonnet's Mach 2, mid-engine dreams reborn in carbon fiber, 800-plus horsepower, track-focused fury that echoes the unreleased legends. Ford's push into electrification and performance hybrids? It carries faint echoes of the nucleon's endless range fantasy, swapping uranium for batteries, radiation for quiet torque. Even the bold styling of modern concepts nods to Henry's obsession with better packaging and weight distribution. These buried ideas didn't die. They evolved underground, influencing designers who grew up hearing the stories. Ford's current engineers admit it. The wild concepts of the past taught them to push harder, to question normal, and to blend emotion with engineering, the exact formula that made NHRA heroes legends. Without these risks, we might never have had the Mustang dominance, the Pantera collaboration Bourdonnet championed, or the fearless attitude that keeps Ford racing against the odds. The real genius isn't in one car or one man. It's in the courage to imagine the impossible, then fight to make it real. Ford's wildest cars may have stayed hidden, but their legacy roars every time a Mustang launches off the line or a driver dreams bigger than the rulebook allows. That's the heart-pounding truth we've uncovered today. These stories remind us why we love this world of muscle, speed, and rebellion, because behind every great machine is a genius who refused to play it safe. Thank you for riding this journey with us on Regal Rides. Which of these wild Ford experiments blew your mind the most? The nuclear dream, the banned Mustang, or Henry's rear-engine madness? Drop it in the comments right now. I read every one. If this got your engine revving, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell so more untold legends hit your feed first. Next up, we're diving into Ford vs. NHRA, the banned cars they never wanted you to know about. You won't want to miss it. Until then, keep the rubber side down and the stories alive. See you in the next one.